Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, February 3rd business meeting of the Haldane Board of Education. I am calling the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President Clements here, Vice President Valentine here, Trustee McNall, Trustee Clemenson
Here.
Trustee Pepper here, Student Member Sanders
Here.
Right. I believe that we are about ready to approve the agenda as it is currently written. So may we have the recommended action, please?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the agenda as written.
May we have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. There's some sounds that are unusual. So the Haldane Board of Education was going to hold a workshop meeting. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, February 24th, which is actually 3 weeks from now, and that's so to account for the winter break. And it'll be here in the middle school, high school library. And it's going to be a presentation, right? We're in budget season. And so it'll be the elementary, two things, the budget presentation and a discussion about the budget, as well as the elementary visit summary and detail report. So it's our annual presentation by Mrs. Jimin about what's happening at the elementary school and the school's goals and all the great things that are happening there. The other thing I want to say is that there are now available in the district clerk's office trustee candidate petitions. So for anybody who wants to run for the school board, right, every year Haldane elects 1 or 2 school board members, depending how many terms are up in that particular year. This year there will be 1 term that's up, and those petitions are available in the district office and are, I guess, due no later than 3 o'clock on April 20th. So people have lots of time to get the petitions, reach out to board members, ask about board service. There are resources available. I think that Ms. Shields has anybody who wants to run for the board. There's a variety of different resources available to help you learn about what board service involves, and how to make a decision about whether you want to run or not. So. And then the only other thing that I think I want to say is that it's great to see so many people here. We've had more people at our meetings this year than we've had in a while, and the board really appreciates everybody taking the time to come to our meetings. So that's what I have.
Okay. So we've certainly seen our fair share of snow so far this winter. I'd like to say that we're done, but we might have a little bit more of snow. So I just want to take a moment to thank our school community, and we have some students in the audience. So I'll start with all of you, our students, our staff, our administrators, and our parents as we've navigated our first day of remote learning. We had 3 snow days built into our calendar, and we've unfortunately or fortunately used all 3. So now if we do have to call a snow day, it'll be more of a remote day. I think the administrators really did a beautiful job working with the teachers of just identifying what could a remote day look like. We're not going back to COVID, certainly. And the hope is we only have to have a handful of remote days throughout each school year, but we did have our first one. And my perception is that it went pretty well. I asked students, Max, maybe you could speak a little bit about that when it's your turn as well, but talking with a couple of parents and staff and administrators, all things considered, for the first day. So hopefully we won't have to use it again, but it is only February 3rd, so we'll see. But thank you for everyone just for your efforts there. We are continuing our budget discussion tonight. We'll be talking about our goals and priorities and the allowable tax levy. So looking forward to diving into that. And every really meeting between now and the end of April or so, we'll be talking about the budget. So I do encourage the community to come out, especially if you have questions or you want to hear more about the budget process. I had the chance to attend the varsity girls basketball game tonight, and I think we might have fallen short maybe by 3, but it was an amazing just again, example of our school community coming together. We also celebrated our seniors, so we had 4 senior girls tonight. So I really enjoying one of their last games. And then our last, our boys varsity senior game is next Wednesday night, I believe. So always a great turnout and it's fun tonight. So anyway, it's all good. They play their hearts out. I also attended the Cold Spring Village Board meeting last week, and that was my first time attending a board meeting other than our board meeting here in Cold Spring. So it was great to see the mayor and the board there, and we talked a little bit. I presented to the board a summary of what we presented here to our community with our traffic pilot. So we're getting some really good feedback from our village partners on what we have to consider before we start to do that in April. So we have another planning meeting scheduled with our partners just to get a sense of what else do we have to be thinking about. And then we'll be communicating that out to the public. Newsletter, we're doing a video on it and lots of different things. So more to come on that. That won't be till April, but it was nice to get in front of the village board, and Peggy and Megan came as well. So thank you both for that. On my last piece is next PTA meeting on February 10th. I'll be joining some of our administrators, and we'll be talking with the parents just about the Haldane essentials, kind of defining that for our parents and helping parents understand how they can support their children at home with the different skills. So looking forward to having that discussion next week with the PTA. And it's February already. I don't know where the year is going, but that's my report for now.
All right, and Max.
So to expand on our first virtual day this school year, I talked to probably like 10 or 15 students in the high school, and the majority actually enjoyed it, and they liked the idea of being able to just check in for a couple minutes, take attendance, ask questions about the assignment that was posted for each class, and then just go off and be able to do that assignment. And from personal experience, I liked how it was kind of structured, but also like I could go outside if I wanted to, or I could hang out with a friend or something in between, like if I had like a senior priv or something. So there was a lot of good feedback on that. And the Haldane Model UN has their second trip, and they're going to Bronxville on February 7th for a day trip. And 9 delegates are representing Haldane. And then obviously our girls varsity basketball senior night was tonight, celebrating their 4 seniors: Ellie Mahoney, Marissa Peters, Kayla Ruggiero, and Miley Pina Ryder. And then the annual Haldane Youth Court ceremony is tomorrow, and this is their 4th anniversary, and they're welcoming new trainees. And then lastly, gearing up for Valentine's Day, I know Environmental Club is doing, I don't know exactly like what they're doing, but I know they're like making Valentine's cards. And then the Haldane Choir is sending Valentine grams for students.
Oh, that should be fun.
Yeah. So that's all I have.
I would pay for the Haldane Choir to sing to my Valentine. Thank you, Max. All right, so we are now moving on to our budget presentations. Dr. Duffy and Catherine Platt, our business administrator.
Tara's at the end here. That's face. That's whatever is easiest for you.
Anything.
Yes. Just one day. So the overnight one was in the fall.
Yeah, that was to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I can.
That's okay. Just leave it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
My stuff really needed its own chair.
Oh, all right.
Sorry.
So this is our second discussion. We're kind of still in what I would say the introductory phase of the budget process, but we're going to be talking tonight about our goals, our priorities, and the allowable tax levy. And so always important to start with our goals. And some of these probably have not changed from over the past couple of years, but good to just kind of say them out loud again. So our first goal is always to stay within the allowable tax levy. And that requires some creative conversations at times, but something that we're committed to doing. Always to be continue to be aligned with our Haldane core mission, beliefs, and Haldane essentials. Having and maintaining a safe, efficient fleet of vehicles for student transportation. Prioritizing operational efficiencies and long-term planning. And so I'll just highlight the long-term planning piece for a moment. We need to continue to talk about long-term planning. It is critical when we're looking at our current budget, when we're looking at what's in our capital project, and then we're looking at some of the items that have come up, including, I know we have our tennis team here tonight, so a good example is the tennis courts and how are we going to fund for that? So I'm committed to making sure that we have long-term plans in place for all of our needs, but that's definitely a budget goal for us. And then, as always, having transparent and open communication with the community as comprehensive as we can be about how the budget is developed, how things make it, how things don't make it, and again, how we're planning for those long-term discussions. Always nice to take a moment for the board and for the community at large. There's a lot that goes into each budget that really promotes and supports our students, their learning experience, their social emotional experiences. And so we just wanted to take a moment to highlight from recent budget years the many wonderful gifts that we have given our students. Things like science of reading. So Ms. Jammin will talk a bit more about during her report next board meeting, but the work that our teachers are doing within science of reading and the benchmark and U-Fly programs. So that's just some examples of students already engaging with the materials this year. Our fantastic pre-K program, I really wish you all could go into the classroom. I can't have you all go in, but it's such a gift to visit and just see our youngest learners who from the first day of school really had no idea where they were walking. Now they're walking down the hallway. They're like, Dr. Duffy, I know where I'm going, and walk right past me. I mean, it's just amazing to see in just a small couple of months the growth. And they bring so much joy for 4-year-olds to our district. So we're thrilled to have them. Stage improvements. We had a budget allocation last year to provide additional funding for our lights, I believe, special education out of district programs, the EduClimber MTSS software. If you recall, this is something that Mr. Elders talked about a little bit. That's an online platform that is helping us bring together all of our data on students. And we're talking about their needs and programs they might need. It's like a one-stop shopping for all things data. So we're behind the scenes right now building up that platform and hoping to be able to use that with our teachers moving forward to really identify our student needs and plan for those needs accordingly. Arts and education, we have a very robust program. So these are just some of the pictures from Arts and Ed. And also our 6th grade exploratory language and elementary world language program. So all of these items have been supported in this current budget, but also a couple of past years as well. So just great to take a moment when we're thinking about our budget. It's really about kids, right? Everything we do should be focused on kids in some capacity. And so I will always try my best to make sure that we are focused on what our kids need and then plan accordingly. Field trips, can't forget our field trips, transportation audit. We spoke about the beginning of January. We did a huge project last year on air conditioning and continuing to make sure that all of our classrooms have that. And then recent upgrades to our different types of fields. I think that might be the last slide there. Okay. So moving on from goals now to priorities. So goals to me is like the overarching focus of the budget, but priorities is how are we going to get there? How are we going to meet those goals? So transportation is one, and these are in no particular order of importance. But as we think through the transportation audit that we heard, where can we lean into the recommendations that make sense to follow for Haldane, making sure that we're still fiscally responsible as we're identifying some of those needs and making sure that we have buses that can be serviced and are safe for our students to transport them from home to school. Long-term planning, I spoke a little bit about, but I'll also just add here, when I think of our student experience, right? So when I think of being a new superintendent, I want to bring the care that I have for our students and the care that I have for our learning community from what we're focused on to also where does that land in the budget? It's important that we're focusing in on long-term planning. How can we be proactive multiple years? So we're thinking about 26, 27, but where can we plan for the next couple of years out for arts, for athletics, for transportation, and always for safety, trying to prioritize secure environments as we go. So those are 2 of our budget priorities. Zero emission buses. There is a mandate from the state that we have to follow. So we are kind of working behind the scenes to see where we can meet that mandate and also be responsible and communicate out to the community as we go. And so we're working on grant funding right now to identify where we can get support from the state and also how do we transition. And that is like a good example of long-term planning for the next couple of years. STEAM is something we're super excited about. As you know, it's a big part of our capital project. We can't wait to break ground on our new space. So we're planning behind the scenes with our STEAM curriculum. And we are reimagining and reallocating, looking at our science department. What are the classes that our science teachers are teaching? Looking at upcoming retirement. How can we switch perhaps the focus of that particular teacher into more STEAM-like classes? So we're really trying to be responsible and using the resources that we have with STEAM. And then staffing, always trying to leverage retirements to identify where do we need to have staff and how can we continue to enhance our curriculum as we go. All right,
the fun stuff.
yes, I got the easier part of the presentation, but Splat will take it away.
Okay, so most of our state aid comes in the form of our foundation aid. Last year, there were some small modifications made to the foundation aid formula. Advocates for school financing wish that more changes were made to the formula because it doesn't always take into account current requirements from the state, current curriculum needs, things like that. But the governor's proposal this year did not include any changes to the current foundation aid formula. The only thing that the changes last year did was it put more districts on the Save Harmless clause. 2/3 of districts in New York State right now are operating under Save Harmless, which guarantees a minimum 1% increase to the foundation aid. Haldane is now considered a Save Harmless district. So with that, we are projected to receive the 1% increase or $29,540 increase in our foundation aid. The next biggest piece of our state aid is our expense-based aid, and that is financial assistance that's given back to the school districts based on the expenditures from the prior school year. This year for Haldane, our aid is projected to have a total increase of just over $5,000. Our building aid is going up, as is our excess cost aid, but our transportation aid and our BOCES aid both are showing declines this year. Universal pre-K, as you know, as Dr. Duffy talked about, we love having our little 4-year-olds here. The executive budget is changing the funding, or is proposing a change to the funding for universal pre-K. We currently receive an allocation of $5,400 per student. Under the governor's proposal, that would increase to $10,000 per student. Using that number with our current 18 students, that would be a projected increase of state aid of $82,800. It is important to note, as the next couple of years go on and we talk about long-range planning, universal pre-K is going to become mandatory with the governor's proposal again in the 28-29 school year, where the district will be required to provide pre-K to anybody who applies for it. That doesn't mean it has to be housed in Haldane. It can be at one of our community partners. As you know, as you'll remember, we had some trouble getting support in the community at $5,400 a student, but perhaps with the increase to $10,000 per student, we would get some community-based partners who might be interested in hosting a student or two. But we do need to keep that in mind, that we have a couple years, but we would need to be ready to house any student that applies for our program. And then the property tax cap. The property tax cap, what we're talking about tonight, is the allowable tax levy. It's a pretty involved calculation that we do every year that starts with your tax levy from the previous year. And then we do, there's a bunch of additions and subtractions to it. The key factors are your tax base growth factor, and that is how the state values the properties of new construction or improvements or new property added to the school district. But the biggest factor is capital expenditure exclusions. We are going to see an increase in our allowable property tax levy due to the impact of the capital project that everyone voted on last year. Right now, with the calculations coming in, our allowable property tax levy for next year is 5.53%. That is the highest allowable tax levy a district could propose to the voters that would still need a simple majority to pass. And that is where we would stay within. That would be a potential tax levy increase of just about $1.3 million. It's important to note that the majority of that, significant portions of that increase would be for principal and interest payments with the borrowing that we're going to do later this year. We are anticipating a June bond of $19 million to fund the next year's construction. And then just a reminder that last year, the district did pass a budget that was based on a 2.8% tax levy. We went below the allowable of 3.38, just, you know, as a thank you to the district for supporting our capital proposition. But what we will need to discuss over the next few weeks is where we will be within the property tax cap, knowing that we can levy up to 5.53%. And then next steps. I am currently working on my rollover budget. What that is I take this year's budget and I create a preliminary budget based on expenditures that I know of, major cost factors, salaries, including mandatory salary increases, mandatory health benefit costs, facilities and transportation, special ed increases, things that I know of. Then we try to smooth it out and come up with a kind of an idea of where we would be if I just took into account everything that's mandatory for next year that we have to pay. I have been meeting with the administrative team on a regular basis, talking about their wish lists, what they need, what they'd like, what works, what doesn't, is there adjustments that can be made in their own budgets? And that is where we will come up with what we would like to add to the budget if there is money available once we come up with all of our revenue figures. And then I'm continuing to monitor state budget developments. We will continue to get updates. We right now only have the governor's proposal. It will still have to go to the Senate and the House, and we will see where those numbers actually come out. They usually come in somewhere close, so I'll use them as a very good starting point. But that's where we are with the budget right now, is just getting some revenue projections, some expense projections, and seeing how close we are to a balanced budget. And as always, we end our presentations just showing the timeline. We'll have a lot more information in 3 weeks of the budget discussion. And then we'll continue on with it, hopefully presenting a recommended budget on March 3rd. And then did we do a question slide? No.
I mean, we don't get to ask questions.
That's fine. That's fine.
You just can't show you the
It's but
Well, I just wanted to throw a question out there. I emailed you guys earlier. And again, I know we're still working on it, but just for the conception of last year's allowable tax levy limit and the budget vote, right? So in voters' minds, there was two different numbers that we were thinking about for this year, which is whatever the regular tax increase is. And then what was it, 2.6% for the next 3 years for the capital project. So is that included in that 5.53?
Yes, that would be the total. I'm working on some numbers to say what would it be without the capital project, and what it is with the capital project. A reminder that those were estimates that we did, and we did do everything with our capital advisors with the referendum that things would be spread over 3 years. The timeline has shrunk a bit. We could have borrowed this year, but we would have been sitting on a lot of money in the bank and paying interest on a lot of money in the bank that we didn't have to expend yet. And so we did hold off on doing our first borrowing. We borrowed a little bit for some soft costs, $500,000 earlier this year. But the way the timeline of construction is not crossing 3 school fiscal years anymore, it is going to have a slightly higher impact in the next 2 years, because we're spreading it over 2 years as opposed to 3.
And I would imagine that would be something we want to communicate quite a bit to the community, since I think originally Bob it was over 3 years. So
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the tricky piece, right? Because when we were talking to all of this was new to all of us, or at least new to me. I'll speak on my own path because I did a lot of the talking in the meetings, right? Like I really understood it as this, and 2.3. I feel like we were talking a lot about like 2.33%. I can't actually remember the number that we talked about, and talking about it being in addition to the regular tax levy. And so really it's our responsibility to really think of creative and clear ways to communicate that this money, it entails both numbers. And if it is higher than that, if the portion responsible for the capital project is higher than what we were talking about it, we're very always clear that it was estimates, that we let people know, well, it's now compressed into a shorter timeline. And luckily we have really great partners, with the school foundation and the PTA and, the Arts Alliance and the Booster Club, to, I don't know if I named all four, but anyway, but lots of great partners to help us communicate this, because it's tricky, not the numbers themselves aren't tricky, but if people aren't paying close attention, helping them understand that in a way that they're entitled to understand it is something that's important to us.
And I think that I believe people thought they were voting for the tax increase when they voted on the
Correct.
capital proposition. And that was just voting on the fact that we're allowed to
Right,
fund, to do the capital
right.
project. The tax levy doesn't, that increase doesn't happen until you're actually borrowing the money. And I think I think some people probably likely understood that, and some people probably are going to be a little surprised that did not pass the tax levy increase. You have to go back. You voted for the project, now you have to vote to fund the project.
Catherine, real quick.
That is, I don't think I understood. Honestly, to be honest, I'm not sure I understood that.
But Catherine, to your point, you purposely did not go out and take money because you would have money that you would be charged interest on that you were not spending.
Correct.
So the purpose was, why would I take out millions of dollars and get charged fees? So, I mean,
It's
sensible.
fiscally, it's right, it's
Right.
fiscally
I got you.
conservative, right?
Okay.
I almost see in my head as we're talking, like FAQs forming as we're getting closer to the budget, once it's developed some of these questions and answers, so that it's reminding the community what was agreed on last year, the impact, some of the things we paused on knowing this. So I think maybe it's not an FAQ, but some type of document being created to really try to explain this.
Yeah.
So it's as clear as it can be.
Yeah, and I think having it, broken out to a degree, right? It's that this is for the capital project, right? And here's the rollover budget, whatever. But at some point, having some slide or some understanding that this is why
This is
why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a reminder question about the buses. Any new vehicles purchased in calendar year 2027 have to be e-buses? Is that?
Any new vehicles purchased after July 1st, 2027. So in the 27-28 fiscal year.
And are we,
One
do we
more
know if
year.
we're projected to need a couple at that point? Yeah. Thank you.
And if it helps quickly with the buses, so one of the recommendations from the transportation, John, I'm sorry, I'm back to you.
It's okay.
And the recommendations from the transportation study was to see, could we possibly condense a route? So we're in the process of kind of playing around with, could we condense a route based upon current ridership? And could we condense a route based upon if every student attended on that bus? So we're also looking at numbers on the bus, but then how long a student would be on the bus. And so I can't guarantee that we can condense a route, but that's one of the things that we're doing. So as we're trying to map out buses, we're looking at what we need for 26, 27. That would be a diesel.
Correct.
Right, thank you. I'm like, it's all sticking here, which is good. But then moving forward from there, what might we need? And we would look at, maybe it's not purchasing as an e-bus option, a 65 passenger, maybe it's a 30 passenger or even smaller depending upon. So some of the people we're talking to, we're trying to price all of that out just so we're planning accordingly.
Is this all inclusive of any vehicle? For instance, if we're replacing, say, a minivan that's used for out-of-district placements, does that also need to be electric? And that's the same calendar, right? So just because in 27 you won't necessarily need a bus, or we will likely need to replace those other vehicles.
And as we get closer, has there been any commitment from, was it NYSERDA that Carl Albana was in touch with regarding grants?
So the federal grants are kind of out of pause for various reasons. So now we've moved to looking at state grant opportunities. No, it's kind of, it's a moving, opportunity to plan along. It's a great example of long-term planning, right? We're doing the best we can based upon the information we have, but, we don't see this mandate, going away. So we're gonna plan accordingly and be responsible and communicate as we go.
Have, and waivers have already been talked about?
So waivers is an option. So these are all great questions. So the state does provide a waiver that you could get up to 2 years to kind of plan. We don't technically qualify for that yet. So one of the pieces of the waiver, there was like 10 questions or so we had to answer. And it's based upon, you get a point up to 3 points. There's an electrification study that districts have to do. Haldane did, and I'm always saying this, I'm going to say it right tonight. Highland Electric. No. Central Hudson, combine all of them. Central Hudson, see, we have to have a little humor. They came and did a quick study in Haldane last year to take a look at a piece of what we need, but it's not the full study that we need. And right, and so we didn't realize that also. So as the mandate is unfolding, we're kind of becoming smarter as we go. So we do have to do this study, and then we can apply for the waiver, but we need to do the study first.
Yeah, and the top of the mountain is the longest bus loop. That's the one. So.
Yeah.
And how long is that run roughly?
How long is that run?
I mean, I'm not putting any spot. That's fine. So
I'm not even gonna try to make it
Yeah,
up.
I'm
I'm
sure.
gonna let you know, Sean, it's a great question.
I'll text it.
Yeah, curious, offhand too. So we're trying to plan behind the scenes for it, knowing that it's, we have community members that are in support of it. We know that we have a mandate we have to follow, and we have to build a budget around everything.
And so now that we're down to 2 years instead of 3 years to spread out the capital project increase, it'll be something more like a 3-point-something% over 2 years, right? So, and that'll be a good way to explain it, I think, to the public, is that number is obviously bigger, and then that'll mean that the tax levy or the tax cap itself will be where it normally falls, somewhere in like
Yes.
a 2.6 to 2.8.
That's how it's looking right now.
Is that 5?
And, interest rates have changed a lot since
Mhm.
the original numbers that were done by our fiscal advisors. I work with them right now. I mean, even for the borrowing that I am putting into the allowable for this year, it's based on some assumptions of interest rates. And, they usually do a 50 basis point adjustment to hope, a plus or minus 50 basis points. But so, yeah, we're coming up with some absolutely best professional estimates that we can come up with for all of those numbers, because it's also a couple of years later when interest rates have changed a bit. So,
And it's exciting that the capital project is looking like that it's projected to only be across 2 fiscal years instead of 3, a little tighter with the numbers, but planning wise, that's great.
and if we don't need to borrow 19 million in June, if you need to borrow 10 and then you do, 6 million in April, and what I mean, you can spread it out that way as well based on needs or interest rates and things like that. So there's still a lot to come, but we have to base it on the information that we know as of today.
Any questions, Max?
Not yet. I'm still thinking.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
very much.
Thank you. First class, man. So our goal to be like the first class, maybe.
Yeah, thanks. To get to you.
Watch out.
Marcello.
Actually, so can I ask a follow-up question of the presentation?
Sure.
So you had your budget development priorities, so transportation, long-term planning, mission buses, STEAM, and staffing. But one of the things that has been talked about recently in these meetings is some closer term, right? So the long-term planning is invest in the holistic student experience through proactive multi-year planning for the arts, athletics, transportation, and safety, prioritizing secure environments and diverse enrichment opportunities. So long-term planning, but we've heard from folks, and we've had conversations about shorter term needs for things like athletic facilities. Do you want to say anything about how you were considering those?
Yeah,
right
sure,
now?
we can do
Yeah,
that.
I would
Do you
appreciate
want me to
that.
stand to do that? Easier?
Yeah, I think you can
Yeah,
say something.
okay. Okay, so I guess I'm considering that long-term planning, even
Okay.
though short-term, and so good for our tennis group to be here, and Catherine certainly pop in as I'm talking as well. So we are trying to think through, we know that we have the capital project that's been approved, and then we also know there's other needs that have come up, like our tennis courts, right? We've heard from a lot of you about that. We've heard about field lights. There's probably some pieces with arts and athletics that we haven't heard yet that other community members are thinking about that we should be considering. So when I think of long-term planning and short-term planning, trying to think through our use of capital reserves and what we have in play, what we could maybe pull from the capital reserve, let's say, to support the tennis courts. So we have an estimate for the tennis courts, and we're kind of working through creatively what we could pull from the capital reserve to help fund. And then we also know that there's a grant opportunity for tennis courts as well. So we are hoping to be able to share that a bit more publicly, probably next board meeting. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Catherine, that I'm missing?
Just the reminder that if we do want to pull from the capital reserves for the tennis courts, it would require voter authorization. It would be tax neutral, but it would require voter authorization on the May ballot.
Yeah.
That's like what we do with the turf, right?
Correct.
Similar to the turf, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, because that they're, you know, that we have heard, you mentioned the tennis courts and lights, and like you said, there may well be other things out there that different groups in the community feel as being really pressing, but those, to the extent that you are hearing them either through board meetings or through your conversations with administrators, that there a number of things are actively being discussed, and as you said, will be part of the presentation on the 24th.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate that. Good. All right. So we're now at the first opportunity for communication from the public. So the Haldane Board of Education desires and values input from the entire school community. This first public session is reserved for comments on any special presentations like the one we just had, or active agenda items. For those who wish to address the board, we'd ask you to state your name for the record, and then before you leave tonight, give us your name and how to reach out to you. We'd ask you to keep your remarks to 3 minutes or less, and to avoid disparaging remarks about district personnel. And although the board does not engage in dialogue during these meetings, please know that we're listening. And one of the reasons why we ask for your contact information is so that Dr. Duffy or myself or someone else can reach out to you afterwards. Does anybody have anything to say?
You can't take a question.
We will not take questions at this point. You're welcome to get up and talk about the questions that you have, and then that way we know about them.
Me, and maybe it could be directed as to how to learn more about that process. It was just the reference of the voter authorization on the May ballot, and that would be a single separate vote, is my understanding. If we just wanted to understand what that process is that something that could?
I think as part of this budget presentation, I don't think it would be inappropriate to talk a little bit about, for people that are new, to talk a little bit about. So in New York State, the third Tuesday of every May is the annual meeting for every school district in New York State. That annual meeting is the time at which the public votes on any budget propositions that the school district has, as well as votes on trustees for the Board of Education. And so that historically, you know, we are talking about the budget tonight. So what you heard, what was discussed was primarily, actually it was a focus on this, what I would call the regular budget, which is the overall budget, as well as beginning to tee up the fact that we often have Haldane often has a second proposition at our budget votes, at our annual meeting votes, which addresses our needs for transportation. But to the extent that there are ever capital expenditures that the public needs to approve, those would also happen at that May, this year, it's on here, May 19th, May 20th, what?
19.
19th vote. it is within a district's right to set up other dates for votes like Haldane did. But since we are talking about the budget, and I do think the sort of details of sort of what budget conversations mean, I think it's fair for us to sort of lay out that's the process for budgeting. So decided I would do that.
Thank you.
Other comments that people have? Yeah.
Yeah, I had a comment.
We're going to ask you to come to the podium, please. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff Silverstein, Haldane parent. Catherine, thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
I guess this is just a comment on that presentation, because I learned tonight that I think like most parents in this room, we feel like we voted, I guess it was last year or 18 months ago, and everything was passed, and it seemed like, okay, we're going forward with this, but it sounds like now we're coming, I guess, across the bear in terms of it's going to be put up again on the ballot again in terms of what the actual tax levy will be this year. And so if that's the case, I would just comment to the board, like really communicate to the community the positive of how important getting out to vote again is. That we did half the battle, but now is like the time we really need to come forward as a community to pass this through, because without this, the tennis doesn't happen, the baseball fields and softball doesn't happen, the education doesn't happen, improvement. So I think it's, this is really interesting. I'm glad I'm here because I felt personally that we kind of crossed that river already. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Get word out.
Yeah, communication is important. Yeah. Well, there will be a second opportunity for communication from the public at the very end of the meeting, and the rest of the meeting is not going to take very long. So if you're thinking about saying something, you can sort of get ready for that second opportunity, because the board would really love to hear it. All right, just hypothetically, if that were the case. Next on our agenda are information reports for the board to review that we'll act on at our March business meeting. And now we're going to move into consent agenda minutes. For the minutes of our last meeting, may we have a motion, please?
Second.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is consent agenda for financial resolutions. May we have a motion, please?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And consent agenda for personnel items. May we have a motion, please?
Second.
I just want to point out that Diane Kenny coming back to be appointed as a part-time teacher aide. Diane Kenny worked for a long time as the district as a administrator, I guess, when she left.
And an aide.
And an aide. Anyway, can't keep her away. And we're happy to have her back. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Next is unfinished business. This is the policy review that we had the first reading for last time, and we had Dr. Piquet talk to us. This is about revising our policy to make it more clear. Oh, actually, first, I need the recommended action, then we'll talk about it.
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby adopts the revisions to policy 7680 as attached.
May we have a motion, please?
Moved.
Second.
So to finish that, just making more clear to parents about the process for requesting an independent educational evaluation, and sort of updating that policy. We read it last time. Everybody seemed good with it. All right. So all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next is the recommendations for the Committee for Special Education and the Committee for Preschool Special Education. May we have the recommended action, please?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, The Board of Education hereby approves the recommendations of the Committees on Special Education and Preschool Special Education as presented.
May we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And now the recommended action for the authorization of the grade reconfiguration for the 5th grade.
Whereas during the 2023-2024 school year, the superintendent of schools recommended that the Board of Education authorize a grade reconfiguration, changing the grades at the Haldane Elementary School from pre-K through 5 to pre-K through 4, and changing the grades at the middle school from 6 through 8 to 5 through 8. And whereas district goal number 3 in the 2025-2026 school year was to plan and manage the transition to a revised grade configuration, shifting from the current pre-K through 5 and 6-8 structure to a pre-K through 4 and 5-8 model to begin in the 2026-27 school year. And whereas on October 21, 2025, a school reconfiguration report was presented to the Board of Education reflecting the planning that had been completed for the proposed grade reconfiguration. And whereas the superintendent of schools has recommended that the Board of Education approve the grade reconfiguration. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the proposed grade reconfiguration, changing the grades at the Haldane Elementary School from pre-K through 5 to pre-K through 4, and changing the grades at Haldane Middle School from 6 through 8 to 5 through 8, effective July 1, 2026, as recommended by the superintendent of schools.
May we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
So actually, I really like the way the recommended action is written because it really lays out how this is really a years-long process that we've talked about in so many different meetings and the board has talked about. But for people who aren't familiar, really just a very thoughtful initial proposition, really originating with Superintendent Phil Benante, a number of years ago, really as a way to keep and commit to our middle school model, which is so important to so many people to us and to so many people in the community, but also begin to acknowledge that there are changes in cohort sizes and how to best provide an excellent education to students in a way that makes the best use of our resources. There's anything else you want to?
That was perfect.
Anybody else? So Max, do you think students, I'm not asking you your opinion, but I'd love it if you have it. Do you think students are aware, right? Like the extent that this is something happening?
I did not know about this until I joined
The board.
But I think it's actually like kind of interesting because in a way it kind of can mimic high school with like 4 years before. But I'm just wondering, like, is there curriculum changes too? Or is it just like literally you're just moving the grade to be part of the middle school?
So there will be some shifts, but more exciting and very similar to the high school in terms of different types of electives that the staff is looking to be able to engage the students in.
Right. So if you have, it's sort of free, theoretically, and hopefully actually, right, it'll free up some teachers instead of having 4 classes of 10 students each, you'd figure out a way to sort of make the class a little bigger, free up a teacher's time and really begin to, I think one of the things we've heard both at the high school level and the middle school level is how students really like exciting new elective opportunities. It's a way to keep people engaged in school and excited about school, as well as provide them the kinds of educational opportunities that we really want to be offering.
And will the 4th graders, they get to move around a little bit now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
On board that soon.
Yeah, I can tell you the 4th graders are very aware of it.
I bet. And the 4th grade parents, that's
Very aware of it.
That's good. That's good. That means everybody's doing their
Well,
job.
they had changed 4th grade a little bit this year because of it. And so kind of the rollout being relatively slow is actually good.
Yeah.
So there's been a decent amount of adjustment. And my guy's excited to be a middle schooler next year.
That's great.
And that's
Yeah.
that's how it goes.
All right. So anything else anybody on the board wants to say? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
And
Next.
congratulations, by the way, to all the people that worked on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been
A long time coming.
That's a lot
Yes.
of work that was
Yeah.
done by not just the superintendent, but, throughout administration. Teachers are involved in that process. Even PTA parents getting the word out, being involved. I mean, there's been a lot of motion with that. So congratulations to all those people.
Very exciting. A lot of hard work and effort
Yeah.
for everyone.
That's good. It's
Mhm.
great to point out. Next is a discussion item. So we have the draft calendar for the all these dates sound like science fiction to me. 26-27 school year. That's because I'm old.
We got the kids' attention back now.
Um,
What days off do we have?
Yeah, so
I
you
think
want to
right-
talk a little bit about
Sure.
the process for developing this?
Sure.
And what you plan to do next?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's always a pleasure to work with our Haldane staff and administrators when we have to make decisions for really anything. I'm finding the group to be just supportive and collaborative. So we do have something called a calendar committee, and that is made up of a number of staff representing our teachers, administrators, as CSEA, so all of our different units, and myself and Megan, and we meet to kind of map out what the year is going to look like. We are bound by a couple things in our teacher's contract for numbers. So in case anyone is curious, we do have 187 teacher days and 183 student days. Included in that 187 is 4 conference days. And so we have some flexibility with the calendar, but some years are a little bit tighter than others. Going into 26-27 felt like a little bit tighter every year because of a couple things. Passover I don't want to wish the rest of the year away, but it's April of 27 next year. It's 2 days. It's a Thursday and a Friday. And for the past handful of calendars, Passover it just landed on the same week that we typically take off for spring break and Easter. This coming year, we don't have that. So we have a week off at the end of March for spring recess. And then the end of April, we have 2 days off for Passover. So that's just kind of a little different of a shift there. We do have our 4 conference days. Labor Day is a little late this year. So Labor Day is not next year, it's not till September 7th, which is like almost a week later. But our first day of school with students, yay, is September 1st, right? So we are starting before Labor Day. Also just important to note, our calendar is aligned with BOCES. We try to make sure we're aligned because we have a lot of students that attend BOCES. We also work closely with Garrison to make sure that we're aligned where we can be. So those are some of the highlights. I'm trying to think, Megan, if there's anything else I should highlight.
There's a full week winter break.
Full week
Winter-
winter
yeah.
break. Yeah,
Full week spring break.
Yeah, full week spring break.
2 days for Passover.
Mhm.
There's a half day on the December 23rd. That's different. That's
Half day on December 23rd.
That's for all the grade levels. That's high school.
Yes.
That's for all grade levels.
Okay. And
Yeah.
or report card. Is that what it's?
Mhm.
No,
No,
No, not
conference
conference. That's just
Conferences.
Plain old half day.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Just wanted to note that because, obviously because Easter is earlier this year, this is one of those instances in
Yeah,
which
they're close.
spring break falls really closely on the
Yes.
winter break.
It
So
does. Yes.
within 4 weeks, which is, in terms of getting a rhythm from Christmas until that spring break is always a challenge. So.
Was there discussion at all about starting school after Labor Day? Did it just push the school year too late? Like
Yeah, we
have that
would have been
conversation
into July.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Which I love everyone, but I think we need a break in July, right? I'm getting the cutoff back. I understand what you're saying. I do.
Dr. Duffy, this corresponds closely to the OCC.
It does. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
I learned last year, people have strong feelings about the calendar and, really strong feelings, and they're diverse.
Yes.
Very diverse, strong feelings about the calendar. What I take heart from what Dr. Duffy said is that if there's a calendar committee made up of administrators, teachers, and folks from our CSEA.
Mhm.
So, and as well as Megan and Dr. Duffy, and that they worked hard on it, that it was tricky but those things, plus it's aligned with BOCES, I think are what we want to, I just sort of want everybody to know at this point. But so at this point, my memory is that what we've done in the past is at this point, you'll send it out to the community or no?
We do, historically, we have not done
We
that.
have not done that.
Last year, Mr. Albano
Did.
wanted to
Okay.
do that.
Well, I don't think we need,
Historically, we do
Right.
not.
okay, all right, I obviously.
We just
Great memory.
create some space for the board to think about it and then adopt it at the next meeting.
I think that's the right way to go.
If I recall correctly, I think that the decision to send it out to the community was in direct response to people who had questions about
Got
it.
it, yeah.
Okay.
So-
We did get a range of feedback that did not align.
Correct.
It was, that was it. It was
Yeah.
people, then it's like, we did hear from people, but people have very, very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why I think this process of having this calendar committee that works on it and that is so representative, and that and that you've taken into account that it aligns with the BOCES calendar is really very important to note.
Yeah.
So we'll vote next time.
So we'll vote next time. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Oh, all right. So the next is the approval of the memorandum of agreement between the Haldane Board of Education and the Haldane Administrators Association successor agreement, January 29th. May we have the recommended action, please?
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby approves and ratifies the memorandum of agreement between the Haldane Board of Education and the Haldane Administrators Association dated January 29, 2026, regarding a 3-year successor agreement effective July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2029, as signed by the superintendent on behalf of the district.
May we have a motion, please?
Moved.
Second.
So this, for those, is saying that Dr. Duffy has worked with the Haldane Administrators Association to update their contract for the next 3 years. And it was a productive, the board participates as well. It was a productive series of meetings, and we're happy to be landing where we're landing. Anything else you want to say?
Stefan is not here, so just on behalf, we'll just put it into the record. It was a pleasure to work with the administrators, and again, their focus is on kids first. So I think it's important the community knows that anytime we're working through a contract or a calendar, we're focusing on what kids need, and then how can we support our administrators in the
Right.
process. So it was a pleasure to work with them, and I appreciate the board's support as we move this one forward.
I want to say that one of the things that, having participated in other negotiations with other, bodies here at Haldane, what I've appreciated about this particular go around is that we're moving towards trying to find as much parity in terms of from contract to contract with each labor group that we're working with. And the closer we get to a position which everyone feels like the same rules are in place for what happens
Absolutely.
based on their duration here, I think is really useful and as for future negotiations. And I appreciate your spearheading that.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, well, we're really at the end of the meeting. So this is the second opportunity for communication from the public, the same requests and parameters as before. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
No pressure. No pressure.
Okay, so I'm Ellie Dubroff, and I just wanted to talk about my experience. My experience with the team, because I joined in 7th grade, and it really has impacted my life so much. It really has been an experience where I've learned so much, and I've had so many opportunities come from it. And I think it's something that people can benefit from it, like a lot. And I will forever be grateful for everything that I've learned and everything like the team has built, and like the atmosphere and everything the coaches do for us. So in my point in telling you this, I think it's really important that we keep it alive so other kids get the same opportunities as I did and get to experience the same things I did, because I know when I graduate, the tennis team is going to be one of the things that I miss the most about Haldane. And additionally, I just wanted to mention that when the tennis courts get to a point where they're no longer able to be used, it not only impacts the community and the tennis team, but also every student at Haldane, because within the gym program, kids learn how to play tennis, and without the courts, it's not only taking like resources away from us, but also like the kids, because they don't have the exposure to tennis. It takes something away from their education. So
Very informative. All without any notes. I'm very impressed. From the heart. That was
And thank you for
wonderful.
putting down your name and email address. Okay, so time for board reflection.
I think we have one more.
Oh, we do. I'm so sorry. Apologize.
Okay, so I want to comment on, I guess, the calendar and the remote days. I think, and a bunch of people I know thought the remote days were absolutely ridiculous. For my kid to log on for 3 seconds, be like, hi, teach, bye, teach. Oh, my teacher got to go catch a plane, so we're not taking class. Like, that's stupid. What am I paying for? Like, this is ridiculous. But secondly, why do we need a winter break? It's only this area in New York that has this winter break. The kids have break after Christmas into New Year, then they have spring break. There is no reason for the February break. 0. You can build in 5 more potential days and then give back and not end at the end of June. You can end mid-June, or you can start after Labor Day, because you know everyone doesn't want to start before Labor Day. I mean, it's just the options. I just don't see the actual need for the winter break when literally no other schools in the area, not even Goshen, not even Wappingers, not even probably Beacon, Fishkill, I don't even know. But definitely not in Connecticut, not in New Jersey, not in all these other states. No one else has this. So it's just not necessary. There's 0 need for it. Just like somebody over here said before, like your kids are just getting back from break. They're barely getting back into the rhythm. Oh, we're going on break again. Barely getting back, and then we're going on. Like, what's the point? It's just, it's stupid.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I was jumped the gun. Any other comments? Thanks to everybody for coming and sharing their input with the board tonight. We appreciate it. All right. Any board reflection?
I want to say the new newspaper, the Haldane Outlook, yes, it called.
That's it. You got it.
No, but
Issue?
issue. Thank you. The new issue. Got it. Of the Haldane Outlook is out, and it's just I love it. It's just so I just want to congratulate everybody who works on it. It's such a big undertaking for a school to have such a cool newspaper like that. I mean, there's well researched. It's funny. I mean, I know just a lot of work goes into it, and I just want to say congratulations to the kids who are working on it, and the parent advisors, faculty advisors. It's great. Love it.
Just one.
Is that possible?
We finished the comment period.
You could email it.
Yeah, why don't you email it? That would be great.
One thing I just want to mention was the Finding Nemo
Oh yeah.
production was phenomenal, right? It was super adorable. And everybody that I talked to at the end of that was like, how did these kids not mess up a single line? Like, it was really well done.
Right.
Everybody I talked to was like, what? Like there wasn't a single kid that missed a beat. So it was really impressive. And from the stage crew, kids that were working on it, to the actors, to, it was just really, really well done, and really a joy to see.
Would you remind us what faculty lead that effort? Or remind me?
Sam Sauer.
Sam Sauer.
But there was
Christopher
faculty
Clark.
that helped him,
Yeah.
Kristen, and I'm not sure who else, but there were some others.
Another one. Yes, there's another.
Do you think she did last year?
Yes, he did his.
You might have, yeah.
Yeah, they do. They work
But
very hard.
it was really impressive.
That's great.
Yeah, it was.
That's a real effort on the part of students, and the parents.
Yeah.
And the faculty. It's really.
And our pre-K students had the chance during the dress rehearsal, they were up on stage. So you didn't see that at the nighttime event, but we also got them up, so.
Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
Good.
You know, to reiterate what you said, it's always great to have folks here that come and, you know, it's a kind of accountability that we appreciate, that when we're kind of alone, we don't feel in the same way. So I really appreciate your vision and everyone's comments. And just to remind everyone who came and had something to say today that someone, either Peggy or someone in an administrative position, will reach out to follow up, because everything that's said is something that we will consider in one way or another, and that, you know, we take seriously. Just to reiterate that, because I'm ever present to the sense of, am I speaking into a void? There's no conversation here. And it's just a policy and procedure that we follow so that we can make sure everybody gets the attention they need in the event that 40 people were here. We couldn't answer questions. So.
Thank you, Sean.
Right.
Oh yeah, great.
So I was just like wondering with like the school like voting process, like, am I eligible to vote if I'm 18?
Oh, in the
Like,
budget though?
No, I don't know. Just like,
Absolutely.
like if you're 18,
If you're registered to vote.
Okay.
And in fact, the district has a date, to register, their efforts to register, not just for the purposes, but to register 18-year-olds to vote, right?
Yeah,
Once you register to vote, you can vote in
My
any of them.
Gov
Yeah, I was
class,
gonna say,
yes,
the
the
C
Corps,
Corps does
she brought
that.
somebody in.
Yeah.
We all registered to vote. But I was just wondering, like, so like any student that's 18 could vote.
We love
Yeah.
celebrating first time voting.
Oh, yes.
There's pictures and applause and.
I might sing you a song. I don't know. We'll see.
Megan will be sitting there and waiting for
We
something.
dance.
Now you have to come.
Yeah.
Depending on how you vote, of course. I can't say that, but why not? It's the end of the meeting. It's the end of the meeting.
Dr. Duffy, do you have a final thought?
I just want to mention, we are kicking off our board visits to the schools.
Yeah.
We have elementary tomorrow. Yep, forward to joining you. You're in for a special treat. And then Ms. Jamin will be able to do a follow-up as part of her presentation at the next meeting. So looking forward to that.
Great. Yes, have a good day. Tell us.
1 o'clock.
All right, so the board is going to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing a legal matter. And the board, we will adjourn from executive session. We won't take any action in executive session. We won't be coming back. So I am going to make the motion to convene into executive session for the purposes of discussing a legal matter. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?